We should be able to have like a 10-person, $1 billion company.
You feel that you don't work for a corporation, you work for a team of like-minded people.
You're already on Forbes 30 under 30.
But it definitely was not the experience that I was like, oh, I want to spend the rest of my life doing this.
I think apps like that are super important for freedom of speech.
Schedule these customer demos with no product at all. You can do a lot more than you think.
Pieces laid behind the scenes, the price they've paid. We study close, reveal what's real, deconstruct truths unsealed, deconstructed.
Hello everybody, welcome to Deconstructed VC. It's a podcast where Marina and
Nick Davidov.
We are trying to deconstruct the way businesses and startups specifically are built, talk to the founders, learn their stories, and
And get some inspiration, right?
Yep. Good, okay, done with the intro. Today, we have Anna Monako, who is the founder of an incredible company called Paradigm. Is Paradigm the name of the company or just the product?
The name of the company.
The name of the company.
Yes.
And Paradigm as a company, we fought very hard to even get in because it's a very hot and oversubscribed startup. And I think today you'll understand why.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys for having me. Really excited.
But let's talk a little before the Paradigm, because your story is very inspiring. By the age of 22, you did so much that most of the people still trying to be at least somewhere there. You're already on Forbes 30 under 30, and for our fund, it's very important. You are also a repeat founder, right? You already built a company, sold the company, and you started doing this pretty early.
How?
How and why? I think the most important, the question, why?
Yes. Yeah. So I guess going all the way back, I grew up in New York, and I feel like I was surrounded by much more of a finance influence than tech. But from a very young age, I was very obsessed with building things. I would ask my parents for things like a microscope or like a circuit builder for Christmas. And yeah, basically started just getting really into programming when I was very young, all things related to technology. I went to Penn and I studied computer science. And at the time, so I had this very pivotal experience. It was my senior year of high school, and I started doing hackathons. And I won a hackathon, and the prize was a tour of Google in New York.
Oh wow! But what did you do for the hackathon?
It was just a random project. I think I was really into building games at the time, so we built a game it was an educational game for this one that taught people about solar power, but we made custom graphics.
Oh.
So I did
in a hackathon.
Yeah, I did a bunch of things with Unity and Unreal Engine. I had many different rabbit holes in high school. But yeah, I won this hackathon, and the prize was a tour of Google, and I went to Google and I was like, this is the best place ever. I must work here. So my freshman year internship at Penn was at Google. I was very excited about it, studied very hard for the interviews. And I got there and I had an amazing experience, but it definitely was not the experience that I was like, oh, I want to spend the rest of my life doing this. But I did meet a very important person there named June, who is the CTO of Paradigm now. And we basically spent that entire summer just talking about startups, loosely ideating things. And I wanted to be in an environment where I can move very fast, and I didn't find that in big tech. So I started building things on the side. I worked on 2 different things while I was at Penn. The first was this app called Ripple, which was this Bluetooth-based messaging system where you could open your phone and see around you all of the people nearby and like message them. And it was mainly aimed at conferences and events, particularly around when it was COVID, right after COVID, and everyone had masks on. So it was very hard to actually figure out the exact people that you wanted to talk to. And yeah, I worked on this with some like very smart pen people who also are still like in the startup world now. And the other thing I did was I started kind of like an agency where I started just doing a lot of contracting work for other startups. So I built a bunch of websites for other startups, built a bunch of MVPs, and yeah, I scaled that out pretty profitably as well. And I think the experiences that I learned doing my own things in college was vastly more than I learned in any other experience. And I think a big thing that I wanted to do was figure out a way to actually like do what I love and push myself to the limits of what's possible. And for me, that has always been startups. Yeah.
Cool. So what happened to the company?
Yeah, so I guess we were in a lot of discussions to see if we could like acquire the tech of the company. Didn't end up actually going through with the acquisition, but we got like a ton of users. The app is still out on the App Store. And yeah, the other company, it was just completely bootstrapped and profitable the entire way, and still working with a lot of the designers. Mm-hmm.
I think apps like that are super important for freedom of speech. Like when there were protests in Belarus, we tried to organize something like that, but we figured that is pretty hard to code something like this. So you did a great job at making it work.
Yeah, it was very deeply technical, a lot of the Bluetooth stuff we did, which was a great learning experience of really being on the cutting edge of what's possible with a certain technology.
And by the way, am I right, you taught yourself programming in school, right?
Yes, so in high school, we didn't really have that many programming classes. We had a couple like loosely creative programming classes, but most of the things I did were just completely on my own, self-taught. I really was addicted to the demo, I guess, like the point at which you had been imagining this thing, you can finally show it to other people and watch them use it, which is, I think, why I was so drawn to like design and visual programming early on. So I actually, started off, built a bunch of games, built a bunch of front-end interfaces, websites, and seeing people's reaction and seeing them use it was always like an incredible part.
What do you think about vibe coding now?
I think that it is amazing in the sense that it makes coding so much more accessible to non-technical people. I think that it is a tool that you have to understand how to use. Because I also think that with vibe coding, like if you are just going to put in a prompt and let AI just like run infinitely and build your entire program, it might be able to get to a demoable state, but there's like an increasingly big gap between demo and like production grade ready. And I think that vibe coding is like an amazing tool. I feel like I leverage like AI coding tools a lot in my workflow, but I also think it's important that like the next generation of programmers actually takes the time to, read documentation, go deep, understand the code they're writing. Some things really can't be vibe coded in a sustainable way. So I think at Paradigm, we really tried to think of the balance of like, okay, what can be coded with AI and what do we have to actually like go deep into the documentation the traditional way and apply data structures scalably.
Do you feel it could be a gateway drug into actually learning how to code?
I think definitely. Like I would say the amount of like satisfaction that you feel from just seeing things work is so much. And I think a lot of my flow now when I'm coding features is, okay, let's quickly prototype, let's quickly get something together, which does involve a lot of AI, and then going through making sure everything is sustainable and scalable. And I think that the more people that are creating things, the more strong like the overall impact of technology on society will be.
I still remember the reaction of our son when he was 6 years old and he first time coded in Java first object in Minecraft. and he realized that now it's in a game, and his eyes was showing, I am a god.
Like creator of worlds.
Creator. And that's very powerful.
It's very powerful. Yeah, it's really awesome.
How did you come up with an idea for Paradigm?
So, Paradigm, I was really obsessed with this concept of agent interfaces. So this was around like the very, very beginning of like the word agent becoming a thing. And I was like trying out every single agent demo online, like using it, breaking it, emailing people, like all of this stuff. And the very common thread was like most agent interfaces were chat-based. And chat is like undeniably a very, very powerful interface, but I couldn't stop thinking about, okay, what other interfaces are there for agents? And particularly along that thread, I had been using this pattern of using spreadsheets as like CRMs or as places to store data over time. And I noticed that this was like super common. And I did this in like my last businesses, all of my friends did it. We had all of these like very important lists of things in just normal spreadsheets. And I couldn't stop thinking about, okay, like what would it look like if we took this spreadsheet interface? You know, 1 billion people already use spreadsheets. It's the most popular IDE in the world, and made it AI native. And I think what we realized is that so many workflows are comprised of this like 3-step process of like find or upload some information, enrich this information with more specific granular data, and then take action on it. And that is the interface for that works perfectly is a spreadsheet. You know, you can see all of these cells in front of you and you already know how to interact with them. So I think it was just this obsession with interfaces and this pattern that I noticed of how I use spreadsheets in the past.
I think this is what agentic businesses should be, because you know, chat is just a command line, and from one point it gives you unlimited creativity. You can do whatever you want, but you have to know what are the options. So building interfaces on top of that, like, you know, Cursor is wildly successful because I think they nailed the interface. But they kind of squished between, you know, the IDE and the models now.
I agree. Yeah, and it's about like taking an interface, like with Cursor, it's an IDE. People are already familiar with this, and how do we transform small parts of the user experience so that they really feel like AI native?
I think there are more spreadsheet people in the world than there are IDE people. There are like, 40 million developers in the world?
Yeah.
And I think about 1 billion people who use spreadsheets.
I know so many investors who still run their VC funds on spreadsheet, and not on AI spreadsheet, just general simple spreadsheet.
Tell us how you started it.
Yeah, so I guess I started the company a little over a year ago now. And the initial phases were really just like this rapid iteration and feedback loop. So at the very beginning, it was literally just me and June. We would code in this way. So once we like had kind of validated this main vision of the product, we were pretty much like laser focused on getting it to demo stage, because the infrastructure for this is non-trivial. You actually cannot like vibe code this in a day.
Oh, yeah.
So basically what we did is we kept scheduling demos before we were ready to actually demo it. So we like had the idea and we would like randomly get in touch with a bunch of customers that needed a solution. And we would sit like right next to each other, like computers, like the closer our computers were, we would work on the same branch and just like stream of consciousness, just create the entire product from the ground up basically. And we'd be like, oh no, like we have a demo the next day. We would get on a call, it would like not work at all. We would still schedule the next demo and the next demo. Building infrastructure for this was not trivial, and we basically, actually, the first money we took was Y Combinator. So we were in this pressure cooker of getting something to work as quickly as possible. So what we would do is we would schedule these customer demos with no product at all, really. And we would just stream of consciousness, June and I would sit right next to each other and code until the demo, it would like barely work, not work at all, not work again. And then finally, like we had something that was consistently working very well. And from that point on, we started preparing for a bigger launch and getting the product out there.
But while in YC, that still wasn't a spreadsheet, was it?
It wasn't.
It was an agentic system, like
Yes.
general purpose, that worked. And I think we looked at that, and that was impressive. Mm-hmm. But then there were like 200 companies doing something the same.
Yeah.
I think for me, the shut up and take my money moment was when you showed the spreadsheet and you, I think it was a list of developers, and you added a field where the prompt was like, go to their GitHub and see how many commits that are AI related they did in the last month.
Yeah.
And then you just dragged the row, and I saw it started working, and I was like, wow, so they made a infra that is scalable to how many rows there are to run lots of agents simultaneously and just do this in real time. That was like, wow, this is very hard to do.
And what was the most impressive thing, you did it like just maybe a couple of months from the previous product, and just two of you, so the speed of interactions and like trying hypotheses, that was blowing moment for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. I think in terms of the infrastructure, we basically built the entire infrastructure from the ground up. We couldn't even realistically use Python for our infrastructure. We had to use Golang, which is like particularly a language that's very good at concurrent tasks. And we had to create this like queue system where we would load balance all of the calls, like potentially across multiple models, ensure we're not hitting any rate limits, because we wanted it to be extremely fast, like the fastest product out there, also being the most accurate and very cost effective. So yeah, it was really amazing like watching it come together, but I think it was just like pure obsession in the early days. Like we couldn't stop working on it if we wanted to. And
back then you were still two of you. And then we started hiring people, and you all lived together in one house, right?
Yes. So yeah, our founding team first was just me and June, and then we hired like our first couple of people, and we didn't really know people in SF. Our entire team, for some reason, came from the East Coast to the Bay Area to be close to customers, to be like on the bleeding edge of technology. And kind of the natural thing was we were gonna be working pretty much nonstop. So we decided to live together, and I think it actually built a pretty awesome culture around our early team in terms of like how bought in we were, how synchronized we were. And even now we still have a house. And yeah, we've started hiring more and growing the team, and not everyone lives there anymore, but we still like all come work in a house every day, and something just feels so special about working in a house versus an office. It really is like...
It's the ultimate startup vibe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like you feel that you don't work for a corporation, you work for a team of like-minded people, and there's a lot of agency, there's a lot of ownership in that.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, so most of the product you built as three of you, and now
Yes.
just recently you grew to the team of 10.
Yes.
What's next?
Yes.
Everybody still lives together, or have an office?
We have like some of the core founding team still living together, and then some people commute in, and we basically use the house as an office. But yeah, hiring was really hard because we had very high standards for kind of who would join the early team, and we spent some time just figuring out, okay, like. The amazing thing now is that small teams are able to command like so much more resources. So we actually don't need that many more people in the future to build this like massive vision that we have, which means that each person needs to be the perfect fit, because we only have like the way that June and I see it is we should be able to have like a 10-person, $1 billion company, So each of those slots are very, very important.
Maybe 100 people for 10 bill?
Maybe even less, yeah. Yeah.
That would be good.
Yeah.
There's always this moment when I think 200 is the magic number, after which every startup becomes a mess.
Yeah.
It's when people you hired are hiring their people. It starts because founders usually hire not only based on skills, not only a cogwheel to work in the machine, but also people who are multifaceted and vibe well with the culture. But when they start hiring, a lot of times they would hire somebody who would solve the specific function. And a lot of times that just breaks the culture. And also early employees, we see a lot of that in companies that scale to like 200 people very quickly. And that was the same problem in Google, early Oracle. Nobody has really avoided it yet. It's your early employees feel displaced because they used to be, live in the same house, do everything, and then like now somebody has a VP title and they have to go and speak to them, and they're not regarded as equals. That is usually a very hard problem to solve. So it is really good that you're staying very lean and low population.
Yeah, for sure. We built a product that we believe can scale exponentially regardless of headcount. We don't need to, when we sign an enterprise contract, we don't need to put like 3 engineers on that contract. The product ideally should be able to speak for itself.
Do they still require any integrations? Do they want, to be able to populate fields with their internal data? What is the general scope that you have to do for a client?
Definitely. I think actually all of our customers up to this point, we haven't built any custom integrations so far, but definitely there's a lot of demand for using custom data and having custom integrations. So this is something that we're exploring in the future, but we believe that we can get very far with just the base product and the integrations that we already internally have. So we want to kind of push those more custom deployments down the line.
Mm-hmm. Because I would use a feature that would allow me to slice my data with natural language. And but shifting gears, some of your competitors, being Airtable and Google Sheets, are trying to go in different directions. And while Google is just adding an Ask AI or whatever they call it, into formulas, I don't think it's anywhere comparable to what Paradigm allows, because it's just an LLM output that is not even, it cannot search online, it cannot do things. But Airtable is going in the complete new direction. They're allowing people to build apps using their Airtable bases as backend. What do you think about this? And do you think there might be future for Paradigm?
Yeah, I think a lot of companies are converging on this kind of app builder idea. I think that it makes a lot of sense broadly. However, I do think that there's a lot of, sometimes you don't need a whole new interface to do a task very, very well. And I think that's one thing that we're seeing with these app builders. Like a lot of it is, let's create the perfect interface for this task. But I think a lot of what's really powerful is you can build an app through workflows, but also through familiar interfaces. So I think the way we see it with Paradigm is it's not really an app builder in the traditional sense, but you can build workflows and you can build apps. But we think that this core interface of a spreadsheet is so good and so powerful and so ubiquitous that it can still stay at the center of these apps or workflows or build outs that people do.
How autonomous are the agents in Paradigm? Can they just update things regularly?
Yeah, I think it's pretty autonomous. So we have this feature called webhooks that can automatically update data over time based on things that happen externally. And yeah, we also are adding a feature very soon where you can schedule a refresh on data. Mm-hmm. So a lot of what we're seeing on traditional databases is data gets stale very quickly. And a lot of people want to go through, check every single field in their database. Is this still relevant? Is this still recent? So that's one thing that we're working on right now as well.
Do you see more users coming from a specific industry like finance?
We actually are still very horizontal. I would say there's two main buckets. The first is finance. So we're seeing a lot in like consulting and private equity, where you're creating market maps, you're creating competitive analysis, and they already have like entire teams of consultants or analysts that are making these spreadsheets literally all day within a company. So it's a huge, huge pain point there. Another one we see is just an operator. So like you're spending a lot of time doing either sales or recruiting, and you want to generate like a list of leads, you want to enrich a list of engineers, you find a huge data set that you want to pull specific information from. It's kind of a great generalist tool for operators.
That is really good. I tried using it in a variety of ways, and I think what I found works best for me is that, like, whenever I do like what OpenAI or Google or Perplexity does with deep research, when I do my own deep research, I usually have a certain number of questions that I want to ask, but then I want as many examples as I can find.
Yeah.
So what I do is just like write different small prompts to just ask questions and then populate it with a list of companies and candidates I want to look at, and just have Paradigm populate everything. So it's just a very
that's really good.
predictable way for me get really predictable results, like populate forms. And what is the wildest use case people done that you've seen so far?
There's some crazy use cases that I don't even fully understand. Like some of my friends are in bio and they're working on like a bunch of biotech startups, and they're actually using it to like do specific details of analyzing like DNA sequences.
Oh,
they're
wow.
like putting the proteins in a column, and like every single column is like a property about that protein that they're extracting from the internet and with an analysis. It's pretty cool.
That must be very valuable.
Yes, exactly. And there's a lot of these like random deep tech related things where you just need to do like a bunch of very like heavy research through like high throughput search on a big database, and that's perfect for Paradigm.
How do you see your go-to-market strategy? Like, are you gonna focus on just enterprise sales?
Yeah, so right now we're very focused on being kind of a bottoms-up product-led growth company. So we plan to pretty soon like launch the product completely like generally available. And we actually started doing this with our last launch because we launched a waitlist, and we had almost 10,000 people just sign up for the waitlist. So we started letting batches and batches of people off the waitlist. And what we saw was that there were great use cases both for individuals and small teams that wanted to use Paradigm here and there in their day-to-day. And also individuals from enterprises would bring it up and say, hey, we want an enterprise license. We have this like very big important use case. So our strategy to go enterprise in the future is actually to be like bottoms up and product-led for now.
How do you figure out pricing for something like this? There's no comparables.
Yes, so basically we try to have our pricing be as accessible as possible. So we have plans starting at just like $20 a month, $40 per user per month, like very low cost, even like freemium trial plans. And what we do is we give you a baseline amount of usage for that. And it's pretty generous, you can get a lot done, but a lot of users need even more than the baseline of usage, so we do a lot of usage-based pricing on top of that. And the great thing about usage-based pricing is you are extracting value for every single thing that you do on the product. And it's not like you're paying a fixed amount and you may or may not use it this month. So yeah, we do a basis in like seat-based, user-based pricing, and then if you want to use it a lot more and be a power user, there's more on top.
Let us think. Do you want to cover anything specific for the launch?
I guess I can just like, you could ask like, it could be from, I guess it's going to release when we've already launched, right?
Yeah.
Probably
so
around the same time.
We'll try,
we'll
to
try
do
to
as
time
soon
it.
as possible, but yeah.
Okay, cool. So maybe you can just ask me like, so like, how do you try it out? And then I can kind of just like give like an ad.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So the launch is probably, you're seeing this as the launch is happening. How do people try it?
Yeah, so basically you just go to our website, it's paradigmai.com, and you can, for free, sign up, create an account, invite your entire team, and try out some of our really cool templates. They're on the website. We have a bunch of templates and workflows that are set up for a ton of use cases. So yeah, it's available now to try.
One tip from me as an early user, take a Google Sheet that you work a lot with and just completely copy it into Paradigm.
And then, see the magic.
And see the magic. Yeah, like you can add fields and like you might have been missing data or having outdated data. Just ask AI to update it. It's going to be incredible.
Yes, yeah.
Let's talk about something that usually bothered a lot of founders about the fundraising. You've got amazing investors by your side. You have VC, you have General Catalyst, and founders of a lot of unicorns. Intercom, LangChain, what else? Maybe I missed someone.
Dropbox, yeah.
Yeah, Dropbox.
Ramp, yeah, there's some cool ones.
Yeah, how you did this?
I think coming originally to the Bay Area, I actually didn't really know any investors. But I think over time, with YC was a great help. Also, I'm in this accelerator called Prod that was a great help. I think what really helped it happen, like the fundraise go really well, was just having this like genuine obsession with the product that people wanted to talk about and wanted to share. And kind of getting like a lot of my friends involved that are like very successful like AI researchers or founders, and just they were like, oh, like, can I invest a small check? And then they would like introduce us to a bunch of awesome people. So kind of leveraging your network, letting people that really care about the product, like you guys as well, like kind of join the team and help out, has been really great. And I think timing the fundraise as well with like nice like bursts in traction is always super helpful for fundraises.
So not to sit in stealth and like, but share your obsession with everyone else.
Yeah, I think we haven't like been all in on building in public, but we've definitely been posting a lot of demos and use cases throughout the way. And now with this launch, we're going to be like fully all in on building in public. Like you will not stop hearing from me and the rest of the team on socials. And I think just showing people what you've built, showing like a real live demo on the internet is so powerful.
And yeah, I think you can be proud of what you already built.
Thank you.
Yeah. I hope users are going to start sharing like templates that they create.
Oh yeah.
Because that's like a lot of people do some crazy stuff that is very useful for other people.
Yes, yeah, we actually have a feature where you can share templates with not just with your team, but also with like the broader Paradigm community. So really excited to see what people come up with that, and it's been cool so far.
Like I can think of, I don't know, infinite number of use cases, like vacation planner, hiring assistant, I don't know, M&A assistant, due diligence assistant.
We are using it to screen like a lot of companies from Y Combinator as well.
Oh yeah, like just looking at a YC batch in one go, the best use case.
Yeah, it's great.
Because nobody, let's be real, nobody now waits till demo day at YC.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the moment they started publishing the list of companies in the batch, everybody knows everything about this company is like in the next 5 minutes. And if you don't, well, try using Paradigm.
Exactly.
I have one more question. Usually building a company is already stressful, but building an AI company in this time, in very aggressive market, when everything is changing constantly, is even more stressful. How are you coping? Do you have any advice for founders how to keep saying.
Yeah, I think like at the core, if you're doing something that in itself, like despite like certain dynamics of the market, just like makes you really proud. And like, you know, I feel like with Paradigm, I can be like the #1 user of my own product. I think just building something that you're so deeply passionate about and falling back on that when there's these like external forces out of your control is really useful. And I also think that just remembering that it's okay and it's actually good, I think, that it's a very competitive space. Like, most things that are really hard and really impactful are very competitive. And I think that means that it's worth doing. And you should push even harder and just know that if there's a lot of competition, you know, I think there's so much value that's going to be created in application layer AI that genuinely, like, it's not a zero-sum game. Many companies will have amazing outcomes and win. And just keeping in mind that, you know, things in very competitive spaces are really worth doing.
Yeah, and I think the more competition there is, the more users notice that you can do something a new way.
Exactly.
If Apple comes tomorrow and says, hey, like Apple Sheets need a revamp, or numbers they call it, need a revamp. Do you want to come join with your team and work at Apple? Would you take something like that?
I think right now we have a lot that we can do internally. I think at the end of the day, what I care most about is Paradigm really like achieving its mission of like allowing individuals to create like an enormous business impact in a very short amount of time. And like if at some point much more down the line, that means that like joining forces with another company that shares the same mission is the best way to do that, we would consider it. But I think right now we are just like so all in, and I think we have like a great team going, great momentum, that we're not really thinking about that. Right
well, maybe you can acquire numbers from Apple.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking.
Any advice for the founders how to choose the right VC fund?
Yeah, I think going off of references is really useful. So I think both with you guys and with like the other investors that I've let in, it has literally been because my friends have directly called me and been like, we have worked with this person and they're great. And I think there's nothing more reassuring than talking to someone that has already worked with those investors. So yeah, even ask the investors, like if you don't already know people that they've invested in, ask them to connect you with those people. And I think you can never go wrong if you hear it from like firsthand sources.
So reputation is still everything.
And I think it's also a good fundraising tip. If you don't have a long list of investors that want to invest in your company and you're talking to some, still ask them for references. That will at least create an impression that you're oversubscribed in choosing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think maybe the last question, so because the nature of our podcast is to deconstruct startups and to inspire founders. I'm a founder, I have an idea, but I'm frustrated because it's hard. What would you suggest?
Yeah, I guess I would suggest like thinking about like what is your why, on like why are you working on this thing? And usually for founders, there's like a really strong answer to this. And I think when you're frustrated, it's important to realize like the potential impact that it could have and the reason why. Remind yourself of the reason why you're doing it in the first place. And if that why is still really meaningful to you, that's a great reason to kind of push on. And I would say like there's always ways where you can change the dynamics, right? Like with Paradigm, there's been like weeks where it's like, oh my gosh, this is like, there's so much going wrong. Like, this is crazy. Like, this is so frustrating, all of these things. But in reality, like, it's in your control to like take a next step that could produce like a very dynamic impact and outcome on the company. So I would say like, be ambitious, like do crazy things, switch things up, change the momentum. Like you can do a lot more than you think.
Amazing.
That is a good advice. Thank you so much for joining us on today's podcast. And I hope that paradigm becomes that 10 billion company with less than 100 employees, while making like 500 million people at least depend on the product, love it, and enjoy it.
Awesome. Yep, I will get back to it, but thank you guys so much for having me. This was awesome. Really appreciate the time.
Cool. Thank you.